Hi everyone! I recently received the Etchr Sketchbooks that I purchased myself, and I thought I would provide an unboxing video and also do a review of its paper quality. So I received this in the mail, actually 3 of them. This one and this one. So we'll try to open it. They are all 3 different sizes. I'll open this biggest one first. Let's take out the big scissors. Try not to damage anything. They are the packaging looks very thick. Okay, it's open. It seems there's a layer of plastic packaging here. Let me remove that as well. Maybe I'll just have to cut it. It comes in a very interesting envelope, which is very nice packaging. Let me see if I can figure out how to open it. Okay, it looks stuck in this side, which means maybe I can open it from here. Oh, great. I might have damaged it a little. Oh, okay. There's also another layer of packaging. And this reveals the sketchbook. It's packaged with some silica gel to keep any water out, but it's very nice packaging because it's also in a plastic sleeve, and you know it's pristine and new. So let me carefully open this one too. Great. Now that I have the sketchbook, I will take a quick look on the inside of it. So this is the largest sketchbook they have, and it's the size of similar to an A4 piece of paper. And here is the texture of the canvas. Let's see if I can zoom into this. Yeah, so that's the texture of the canvas, my hand for scale. It is, let's say, a beige white, and here you have a very white llama that is embossed in it. Not embossed, embroidery, which looks high quality, very nice, very cute. And opening up the sketchbook, first page, it says the sketchbook belongs to, and on the opposite page it says the Etchr for creators. I got the 100% acid-free heavyweight hot press paper. And let's see. So it looks to me to open quite flat. It's possible to open it very flat due to the way it's stitched together. And let's double check the binding, if I can find the page for the binding. Oh, here we go. It's got stitched binding. Oh, sorry, that's not the right page for it. Great, I found it. That's stitch binding. It's very nice. And then at the back, there's a back pocket, and it opens up like this. The material, I would say, is pretty good. This looks like a fabric ribbon material, which is going to stand up for a little bit more abuse than just paper. And on this side, it's just plain paper. It's not very thick, but maybe that helps it to not bulk up a lot. And in the back, you've got the elastic binding. It's I wouldn't say it's very thick elastic binding. It's a little flimsy on the flimsy side. For a sketchbook this big, I would have expected it to be a little bit stronger here. You can see there's a lot of slack, which means if I have a lot of stuff in it, this might not hold it completely closed. So that's what it looks like. That's the biggest one, and I will quickly open all the other ones in a time lapse. So here we have all the sketchbooks, all 3 of them. So this is half the size. The smallest one is the half the size of this one. And this looks to me like an A5. I will put the note in the video to confirm. And all of it is made out of a canvas material. It looks to me like the binding, the cover thickness is all the same for all 3. So for the largest sketchbook, I don't mind as much. For the smaller one, it does look like the binding is quite thick compared to the sketchbook, probably because they used a lot of material on both sides for the canvas material. And yeah, it's quite thick for a cover like this compared to my other sketchbooks that I have. And the small one also lays very flat, which is great. And as a part of the package, they also sent a small swatch card, which is cute. Color wheel chart. It's cold press, 100% cotton, acid free. So perhaps this paper is the cold press version of their paper that would come into their sketchbooks, whereas I got hot press paper. And they sent a really nice packaged thing here. Let's take a look. So that's all their sketchbook paper. This is the Etchr Sketchbook hot press, which is the paper I have in here, I believe. This is the cold press version. This is the Perfect Sketchbook, 100% cotton paper. I believe the Perfect Sketchbook paper is being developed right now, and you can purchase it on their website, and it's using Fabriano paper, is my understanding, but we can test all of that. And this is the Perfect Sketchbook Signature Series. Okay, so this is the Fabriano Artistico paper, and this one is probably the original Perfect Sketchbook paper. I'm not too sure. They look similar, I guess, and I can test all of them out in the video. So look forward to that. I'll put that away. Oh, on top of this, they also sent a pin here, and the material looks very nicely well made. Try to zoom into this. It's very well made. I like the front, and I really like the llama design of their logo. But one small thing I noticed is that the pin on the inside is poking through a little bit of the backing. If you can see, it is, if I don't know what happened to it during shipping, maybe it got pressed together, so you get this sharp point here, which if you wear it, it's not super comfortable. You can take that out, and this is the pin. It's a little bent, but very nice still. I can get a different backing for this, then it will be fine. I'll put that on the side. Okay, great. Now the next part is the fun part where I'm going to test the paper quality. Alright, time to test the paper quality. This is just the back side of the paper. Usually for watercolor papers there is a front side and a back side. Today I'll just be testing the front side of everything I've got to double check. And I will show you some other things I will test in this video, other than the Etchr Sketchbook. So, I have this sketchbook, which is from, I think, let's see, it's the handbook from Global Art Materials, and I've been using it for a while, and overall I quite like it. Let's see. So the colors are quite vibrant in this, and I will test it. And of course I also have the Moleskine sketchbook, which I've been using for quite a bit, and I will test that out as well. And then I also have the Stillman and Burn Beta series sketchbook, also for watercolor. This one is very simple, it doesn't have any binding or anything like that, but let's see, maybe the paper quality is good. Next up is the mixed media Canson paper. This is a very budget sketchbook, and it's spiral bound, but this paper is mixed media paper, not watercolor paper. I'll be testing that as well. And last but not least, I have made my own block of sketch paper from Arches paper. So this is basically the best paper that you can find for watercolor, and it's just cut out from one big piece of paper. Alright, first up is the Etchr Sketchbook. And flip to the last page, and I will try everything I talked about. First one is pencil and erasing. So I've got some different pencils. Let me check if I can find my mechanical pencil. Okay, just a regular pencil. It's pretty light, pretty heavy. So the pencil application is pretty good. Let's see if I can erase it. Okay, this is pretty standard response. If I press really hard, it will leave a line. So that's why in watercolor, you never want to press too hard on your papers. Okay, that's fine, a pass. And then let's check inks. So I have a lot of inks here, but we can try this ink here and see what happens. This is the Etchr Sketchbook. Cannot pronounce the name. Alright, let's see. I will apply it with a brush. Like a small one, I suppose. So I've applied some ink here, and I will wash it out with some water. So far looks fine to me. One layer of ink. Ink usually has smaller particle size than watercolors, so it's more prone to bleed through. And we'll wait for it to dry and check. And then now next up is a watercolor flat wash. So here is the watercolor palette I will be using. It's very well used. It's the Mission Gold 36 color set. I'll just pick whichever color and do a flat wash. Alright. And then next I will try to do a gradient. The gradient is not as easy to do, mostly because in a sketchbook, because I'm not able to tilt the paper due to it not being dry at the moment. But I will try my best. Okay, I've achieved somewhat of a gradient. I suppose it's not very nice. I'm gonna retry that. Yeah, it's somewhat of a gradient effect. That's fine. Let's do like a flow test. What I will do is I will wet this area here. Once it's fully wet, let me try to push it around to make sure it's even. Great. And now I'm going to put some colors in here. And of course, this also depends on the watercolor. Not every watercolor flows very well. And I know the Mission Gold line is not the best for flowing, but we can still see how they blend together. So maybe I will help it a little bit. And we'll see how that dries. And we'll see how the gradient dries too. Next one, let's try glazing. For glazing, I like to use yellow and blues to get all different shades of green. Let's see. That will be one layer of yellow. So far I've noticed it's easy to get very good flat washes. The paper stays really flat. The water doesn't dry extremely quickly, which is quite nice. Great. So we'll wait for that to dry. And then the next one is when I apply lots of water. So I'm first gonna apply lots of water in this area and rub it around. And then I will put some colors. And then I decided, oh, I'm gonna do a lot more. And then I think, oh, it needs a little more water to get it flowing. And then I think, oh, maybe I'll add some additional colors. And let's see. Some more different colors and see what happens. And then more water. I just really like to put more water. Okay, great. I gotta blot this other thing here. Let me blot this. Also this and here. Okay, great. So that's what we have for lots of water. Let's try lifting. So this brush is a synthetic brush. It should be capable of lifting things. Get my paper towel ready, and I will lift from this corner. So it does lift a little bit. Let me try rub it a little bit more. I think this is as much as I can lift. Let's check the paper here. I do see a little bit of the roughness over here compared to the rest of the areas that haven't been rubbed around. So I think it might not be so great to be rubbing it too many times. We'll try that again later. And what happens if, you know, after you change that, you want to put the color back in? Can you still do that? And how will the paper look after you've done that as a correction? So I applied the thing back in, and we'll check how that looks. And for a record of its lifting capabilities, I will lift a little bit over here too. Okay, so not too bad. And then I'll have just this area to paint something different colors and see how it does. So say I paint one color, and I'm like, don't know how I feel about that one. Then I try to get rid of it. I blot it all away. Then I'm like, okay, maybe I go with a different color. See, I could see some grains coming up here already. This is the second layer. I don't know if you can see very well, but see, I can see some grainy texture coming out of there due to having rubbed it multiple times. Then I decide, I don't really like this color very much anymore. I blot it away. I mean, in reality, probably never gonna do this, but for the sake of testing this paper, we're just gonna abuse it, and we're gonna do the same thing with other papers too. Okay, I put this one in. That's the third application. And then for some reason, I decide to add some other color. The color is looking quite good. Doesn't appear too muddy yet, which is great. Yeah, and then I decided, no, I don't like it. Blot it all away. Oh no, it's staining a lot, so I'm gonna try to wash it all out. Okay, so it mostly lifted again, and I'm gonna see if I can get all of it out or not. Okay, I think this is as good as it will get. Great. And then now, after all those corrections, I'm going to apply a last layer of colors, and I say I settled down on the orange color. So you can already see that there's quite a bit of pilling in here, and it's not dry yet. That's not granulation because my paints have no granulation whatsoever, which you can tell from over here. So let's put that here, and now the ink is dry. Let me flip it over. Oh, I cannot flip it over. There's too much water here. Okay, now let's do glazing. I'm going to glaze this color on top. Okay, so firstly, your glazing, I'm gonna try a different color, like an opera red. So it is glazing. I can see that the color is changing, but at the same time, I can also see a little bit of paper pilling here. Like these small things here, I don't think that came from my brush. I could be mistaken, but See, there's a little bit over here too. But we'll wait for that to dry and check. In the meantime, we can try something more fun, which is how would gouache look on here. I've got this palette of gouache colors. Put that back. It's this one here. And let me try putting some gouache on it and see how that looks. Some skin tone. Something darker. Something really opaque. I guess I put a little too much water for the opaque application. Let me lift all this water. Let me try that again. And it's looking pretty good. I feel gouache is a slightly more forgiving medium, and it looks good in almost any paper, any sketchbook paper that can take a little bit of water. Alright, so the glazing is not dry yet, but we can also check what happened to this here. Since we erased on it, the paper is going to be a little bit more fragile than normal. Okay, 2 glazes, which shouldn't be too bad. And we can check the results when it's dry. While it is wet, I can see that it doesn't take a lot of abuse, and there is a little bit of a pilling effect. Alright, so I blow dried this area. Let me try to glaze a different color on top of everything. That's ultramarine. So that's the color I'm trying to glaze at the moment. So I'm a little surprised about the third layer of glazing for the ultramarine. It is looking like really muddy at the moment. Usually it shouldn't happen. So let's give glazing another try. Maybe my color combination is just not good or something. Okay, let me blow dry it. Alright, let's try glazing again. So I'm going to go in with blue. Trying to go over it very lightly so I don't ruin the application underneath. So it looks like a little bit of it is lifting because from here it's more blue and I can see a little bit of a green tint over here. And I guess I didn't apply it very well, so it's kind of patchy, but that's okay. And in this area, I mean, I don't know how much else I can do it. I could try to, since we're going for like a green, maybe I will try to glaze a green on top and see what happens here. So this is the color I'm glazing. Now let's try paint a little leaf with the glazing technique to see whether if it will work in practice or not. The way I like to paint, I like to put quite a bit of color, and I like to go into it with layers. Okay, and then let me dry this again. Great, now it's dried. I can see that the gradient here worked out quite well. It's really subtle and it kept the hue very well. Here it's dried. Let's try another color. So I'm going to apply the third color for the glaze. It is turning out a little bit, it's pilling a little bit here on the third application. And for this leaf, let's glaze some blue color on top. This is ultramarine. And then this is phthalo blue. Maybe the problem before is that I was using ultramarine and it is not a true ultramarine. I know the Mission Gold series ultramarine is not like super, it might not be the true ultramarine, so it's giving me a really strange effect with this paint. Alright, looks fine now, and I like to charge in a little bit of brown, maybe at the side. Yes, maybe like the leaf is a little brown in some areas. Let's see how that works out. Time to blow dry again. Great. Let's try again. Let's double check that it's dry. Great. I can see here that the 2-layer glaze looks okay here too, but the 3-layer glaze is looking a little muddy, because I would show you the color if I were to just mix them, the 3 colors. Like for example, if I were to just mix these 3 colors, I got yellow and this blue and a little bit of this. So after mixing it a little bit, I got something like this. See, it's interesting. I applied the same paint over here, but this is only 1 layer. This I twirled it around by mixing it on the paper, and I see a little bit pilling here too. Let's try adding the yellow again on top and see how that does. I see it's pulling a little bit of the color out. And the leaf has dried here, so I'm going to apply some more color. Hello. So I believe that was 1, 2, 3, 4 layers so far, and then we can come back once it's dried to see how it does. So now everything is dried. Let's take a look at everything. First one, this area, the area that has been erased obviously left a dent, but overall the paper did not get affected very much by erasing on top of it once. Over here, this one has been applied twice, 2 layers on this side, and it has been removed, lifted here, and painted over. I see that it is looking okay, it's not bad. Over here is a gradient. The gradient is working really well from the first layer, and the lifting is fine. This paint is a little staining, so I'm not surprised that it couldn't be fully lifted. Over here is the area where I put 2 colors together. I see that the ultramarine is granulating a little bit, which is good. That means the paper does show granulation. In terms of mixing, they didn't mix too much together, but that's okay. That's probably just the paint. We can compare with other swatches later with other paper. Over here, well, this is a little bit of a mess. I would say the glazing, 2 layers, looks completely fine, but on the 3rd layer, it's starting to look really muddy, and the 4th one, I tried to save it by adding a more vibrant green on top. It's passable, I guess. It wouldn't look too bad, but it doesn't look that great either. And then I see a little bit of pilling on the paper too. I don't know if you can see, but there's a lot more texture here on the 3rd application. And let's test out this area with a lot of water. Don't worry the way it dried. It's because of the way I blow dried it. It's making a lot of watermarks, but let's check the buckling on the sheet. It's actually not too bad. I think it handles a lot of water really well. And because it's only 1 layer, I guess I don't see a lot of issues with it. There's some granulation just based on the paint I was using, the ultramarine, but other than that, it looks okay. This one is really muddy. I applied something like 4 or 5 times. of paint, erased it, lifted it, and applied it again at the end with orange, the same orange here. You can see very clearly that it's a lot muddier here. And also the paper is pilling. And then over here, same thing, multiple layers doesn't handle as well as only one layer, and the glazing is totally not so great after the third layer. Not even. The third layer is starting to not look so good. This sleeve, it looks okay. It's not bad, but it's a little bit muddy. So that is my impression of this paper. It is better than paper that I've seen on some sketchbooks, and for it to be 100% cotton, it's very nice. Let's check. No bleed through whatsoever on the other page, including the ink. However, it does not handle multiple layers very well, and we can compare this with some other 100% cotton paper later. So overall, I think for the price, which is pretty expensive, I think I got 3 sketchbooks, total of over 100 Canadian dollars, and that is pretty pricey for the sketchbooks. I think although they're 3 different sizes, but they're quite expensive. So if you don't want to spend that much money, there are some alternatives that you can buy that have similar level of paper. It might not be 100% cotton, but I think the other sketchbooks will do your job just as well.